Hello there, everybody. It's your boy Jerm, and you are tuned into another The List of Jerm. Alright, I'm going to stop doing the British accent. I hope everybody's doing well. This is the second installment of The List of Jerm, and on this one, we're going to be talking about some real sci-fi shit. We're going to be talking about Star Wars. I've wanted to just sort of talk about the Star Wars movies for a long time. I've always been a big fan, even though they're just sort of, some of them are really long and hard to get through. I've just always been a big fan because it's such a big universe. It just takes a lot of imagination to really even come up with some of the stuff that they were able to come up with. Shout out to George Lucas on it. But I just wanted to go and rate these movies. I am going to rate all 9 of them. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm really not the biggest fan of the newest trilogy, so expect to see a lot of them at the bottom. But yeah, I'm going to just rate all of them from 1 through 9, and we're going to just talk about, I'm going to take a little bit of a moment and talk about all of them, and I'm going to hopefully do a accurate, I mean that subjectively, because of course it's my opinion, so it's never going to be 100% right or wrong, and I'm going to just try to see if I can do them some justice. I'm not going to spend too much time talking on them, because if I really wanted to talk about every single Star Wars movie, this would be a 2-hour podcast, and I don't want to do that, but I'm going to try to just give a little bit of something about them. So without further ado, I'm going to get started on this. This is the List of Jerm. This is Kinetic Aesthetic, and I am your host, Jerm. So let's go. Now, more than ever in today's world, especially if you're a young person growing up and you're trying to stay fly and stay fresh, it's important that you look good. And in order to look good, we're always having to do all these crazy things. Women are out there going and getting shit done to their bodies, and dudes are out there spending a whole bunch of money on designer. But I'm here to tell you that there's a much cheaper way to do that, to make sure that you stay fresh and still stay fly. And that's by going to go check out the Stonerville brand. Headed by my main man, Juice God. The Stonerville brand is pretty much just inexpensive streetwear designed by him for us to wear and for us to stay looking fly. It's inexpensive, it's black owned, and honestly, it's some of the freshest shit that you're going to find out there on the market. So I'm going to leave the link to Stonerville brand in the bio to this episode, and I want you all to go just do me a nice little solid. Do yourself a favor. Go check it out, because those clothes are going to make you feel better about yourself, make you feel better about your life. And whether you smoke weed or not, trust me, you're going to look good. Okie doke. So coming in at the very bottom of our list, the worst Star Wars film in the franchise up to this point is the latest one. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. This one came out on December 20th in 2019, and you know what? The new trilogy gets a lot of crap, and it doesn't deserve all of it, but for the most part, it pretty much does. And this film is the epitome of why. It's bad. It's a jumbled mess. It really doesn't make any sense. A lot of the things that are happening, if you have any type of familiarity with the Star Wars franchise or any just sort of movie logical sense, you're going to be like, well, what's going on? Why are they doing this? And it's really just, it's not good. I don't want to spend too much time on this because there have been so many YouTube videos that have rants on why it sucks, on why it's terrible, and why it's just the worst thing ever, and I don't feel like wasting my breath. I'm just going to say Palpatine coming back was stupid, first off. Kylo Ren and Rey just sort of having whatever relationship they had was dumb. I don't know why she had to be a Skywalker when they had just sort of implied that what made her special was that she came from nobody or nothing. It's all bad. Like, this is the prime example of why you sort of don't introduce, you don't try to do a trilogy for a series like Star Wars and just have 2 different directors. You don't go into a film that's supposed to be part of a trilogy, and I'm going to talk about this later with one of the other films in the new trilogy. You don't go into a movie like that and start off a trilogy with no real concrete plan and direction on where it's going. and you just don't do a lot of the things that they did. It was all just sort of jumbled, handled terribly. It's not good at all. It's disappointing because you know what? I had sort of checked out after episode 8. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but there was so much potential when it came to the new trilogy. It wasn't like that it started from nothing, like there was never any hope for it. They gave you hope. They just they fumbled the bag. So yeah, episode 9, bad movie. Very, very bad movie, especially by Star Wars standards, and don't watch it. Do not watch it. I'll just say that.
I feel the conflict in you. It's tearing you apart.
So coming in at number 8, we're going to have Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. And yeah, this one just gonna continue my previous rant on the things that suck about the new trilogy. It's just not good. It's very illogical, and this one really, I don't know if it's sort of interchangeable for this one and Episode 9. They both can be sort of tied for the worst, because Episode 8 is just, it does some things that are even more egregious in my opinion. Like, you know, this one is really centered around Luke. He wasn't in Episode 7 at all until the end, so this one is really focusing on him and Rey, and you just see a lot of stuff that went on after the end of Episode 6 and between Episode 7 that sort of gives you a background on how they got to where they were with the new trilogy, and it's some crap. Like, okay, Luke, who we had seen go through all this stuff with his father, Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker, whichever one you want to refer to him as. He went through all this with him, and he never gave up hope on him. Like, despite all the things that he knew his father had done, he didn't give up hope that he could try to save him. But yet somehow he senses that Kylo is just having a bad dream, and it just makes him doubt him enough to where he just feels like, I have to kill him. And you know, we all know if you followed them, you know what happened next. Kylo turned to the dark side. He ended up with meeting Commander Snoke, all this other stuff, and it's so inconsistent with how he was written in the original trilogy. And it's just the type of thing that just makes you think, do these people even really care about the lore? Do they care about what was going on with Star Wars? Or did they just want to write their own thing? They just wanted to make it make sense somehow. So they were just like, Luke just doubted him for a second and got ready to kill him. I don't know. I don't understand it. It's bad. And on top of that, this is my other big thing that I really hated about this movie. The one thing I'll say about Episode 7 that I liked, they introduced Commander Snoke, who is the head of the First Order. He was the big bad. I thought he was going to be there until the end. No, they just kill him. In the middle of the trilogy, they just kill him. Very unceremoniously, really without any type of warning. All of a sudden, he's just dead and he's killed. Kylo does it, and it was like, where was the thought? The thought wasn't put into it. There was no real sense of it. It was just, let's just do this. I'm a big stickler for lore when it comes to franchises. If you write all this, if you write a universe and you have an established universe, stick with it. Don't change things up. Don't just sort of play with it as you see fit, especially when a new director or a new mind comes into it. If you have something that's already so established and so loved, please show it respect. And I feel like they didn't show any type of respect to it with this one, and that's really referring to the Luke stuff, to some of the way they handled Leia, to a lot of different things, and it's really a shame. And Episode 8, it is notable because they had a different director than Episode 7. It was what was his name? Let me make sure. It was Rian Johnson, and it was J.J. Abrams for 7 and 9, and you can tell because Episode 8 just sort of sticks out because it's just like, this is a completely different. Just like, none of this is not. Episode 7 at least gave you a solid foundation to just piggyback off of. Episode 8 doesn't. It pays that no mind. It just does what it wants to, and it's disappointing. I'm gonna just leave it at that. There's not really much more to say. It's like I said, you introduce a big bad and you kill him midway through. You're not really showing any long-term planning. They're just doing shit. and that is my biggest issue with it. So yeah, episode 8 and episode 9, they're both pretty much the worst. It's interchangeable, whichever one you want to put at 8, whichever one you want to put at 9. I really couldn't decide. I just put episode 9 because it sort of made even less sense to me than episode 8, but that's just me.
We're so happy to see you, sir.
Okay, and yeah, this is episode 1 coming in at number 7. Jar Jar Binks. You know, I really feel like I could just leave it at that. I could just say those words, and even if you're any familiar with Star Wars at all, you're gonna understand why it's this low. It's there's a lot of I'll say this, there's a lot of cool stuff about the movie. It's nice seeing, you know, Darth Vader and Anakin as a young boy, just knowing the future and knowing what he's going to turn into. It's interesting to see him as a kid and how he just where he came from. Darth Maul, you know, pretty cool character. He's still an iconic villain. He is the one thing I would say from Star Wars Episode 1, aside from Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon wasn't as sort of legendary or iconic, but he still had his place, and it's nice to see those characters, to see them introduced, to see where all this stuff sort of started from, this whole legacy of the story. But yeah, this one just really it's dry. And you know what? I sort of don't want to put it this low because like I said, it's got some cool stuff to it, and it makes sense why it might feel a little dry, considering you have to begin somewhere, especially considering he sort of started this film franchise in the middle of its story chronologically. But yeah, this one was just sort of boring. It was just sort of dry, and it just it didn't have too much luster to it, especially compared to some of the other Star Wars films that are going to be up higher on the list. It fit where it was. So yeah, Star Wars Episode 1. It came out in 1999 on May 16th. It just wasn't as good as it could have been.
As you see, my Jedi powers are far beyond yours.
Okay, coming in at number 6, we have the second film in the prequel trilogy, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and this movie came out in 2002 on May 16th. This one, and really, this is I want to say, like, we're at the halfway point of this list as far as I'm concerned. I can say that this movie and the ones below it, at least in my opinion, they really just they don't seem to have the same heart put into them. They don't seem to have that same flair that the rest of the movies that are going to be on this list have, and that is why I can sort of put them this low. Episode 2 sort of personifies that. You know, there's a lot of action going on. You know, you got the Clone Wars, you got the awesome scene where the Jedi's all rush in there, but it just sort of, I don't know, it just sort of feels dry. It feels boring. It's just not as good as some of the other ones. You know, like I said, there's a lot of different things that I really did love on there. I like the Yoda scene against Count Dooku. I do enjoy some of the things that happen with Obi-Wan, you know, him fighting against Boba Fett, but it's just not, it just doesn't really do it for me. I've watched this one a couple of times just trying to see if maybe I'd change my mind, because I used to like it, just like I said, I used to like it just for some of the fight scenes and everything like that, but it is a bit of a boring movie. There are a lot of things that are overacted. Hayden Christensen got a lot of hate for his portrayal as Anakin in the prequels, but I really feel like, especially seeing some of the behind the scenes stuff, he was just being directed badly by George Lucas. Like some of the scenes where he's just overacting, where he's just with Padme. You know, you got the meme right now of him talking with Padme in the little field and everything. It's just strange. It's not really natural. It doesn't feel like it's what it should be. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. It feels like an over dramatic play, like a soap opera. And I know Star Wars is a soap opera, but the first films don't feel that bad. They don't feel that soap opera-y. This one does. Like you got the scene where he kills all the sand people after his mom is killed. I feel like I'm supposed to feel something during all that, but it just feels like sort of corny. Like a lot of Anakin scenes just feel really, really corny. And like I said, I don't blame it on Hayden Christensen. I've liked him in a lot of different films. I loved him in Takers, but Star Wars didn't do him any justice, and I blame that on his direction that he was dealing with. So yeah, I'm gonna give episode 2, I'm gonna give it this spot. I think it really does belong at number 6. It's a movie that's not bad, but this is the epitome of average in terms of Star Wars movies to me. So it does good for what it's supposed to do, sort of build up some of the things that are going to pay off in the next film, for the final film in the prequel trilogy, but it really just wasn't that great. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is like a light 7, strong 6.
Han Solo. I've been waiting for this day for a long time.
Okay, coming in at number 5, we have the first Star Wars movie in the new trilogy, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. This came out in 2016 on December 18th, and it really was a good launching off pad. I'm going to ignore what happened with the next films in the trilogy, but this was a good launching off pad. It was nice the way they brought all the major characters back, or the ones that were still there. Luke, like I said, he didn't come in until the end, but he was there. You saw him. He was relevant throughout the whole movie. You had Han, you had Chewie, you had Leia. You had all these people come back, and it was nice to see them again. All the old actors did a great job, and it's a good movie. It had heart, and it really, and I'll give it that. It had the Star Wars heart in there. It felt like they really put their all in, giving the fans sort of a good little return trip while still setting up something new for the newer generation. So I'm gonna give them credit. It was a decent movie. Kylo was good in this one. He was interesting, just seeing him as, this mysterious character who's got this past. We know who his parents are, so we know sort of what his connection is with everyone, but it was still not, he still just had this sort of aura around him, especially not knowing anything about where he came from or how he ended up the way he did. They used Snoke correctly as this mysterious big bad that we hadn't really been introduced to yet. There was just a lot of good things that were going for it. And it's good, and I'm not looking at hindsight of seeing what was coming after it. It was good in its own vacuum of just what that film was. When Han, and this is spoilers I guess, when Han gets killed by Kylo at the end, when he's just sort of having all that just indecision about him, it's nice to see that. It felt like, damn, this dude just killed his own dad. Like, it was a real moment. And I really do feel like they deserve credit, because, especially considering the crap that came out with 8 and 9, they were in their bag on this one. So I'm going to give Star Wars Episode 7 a solid 7 out of 10. This was a good movie. It's a worthy addition to the franchise. They respected the characters for the most part on it, so I will give them some credit. Of course, there's still some logical stuff that doesn't make sense, but it's a good movie. So yeah, Star Wars Episode 7, it deserves its spot in the top 5.
Wokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Coming in at number 4, we have the original Star Wars film, originally called Star Wars, but retro called Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. This one came out in 1977. This was May 25th, and it's the original it literally spawned the franchise for a reason. It was a very good film. It's got a lot of heart put into it. It's a classic sci-fi, it's a classic movie, period. This is really it's a great performance by Harrison Ford, by Mark Hamill. Everybody did their thing on this one. First seeing Darth Vader come in and show up, the movie really is it's amazing. It's sort of iconic for a lot of different reasons, all the different things that you see on there. It's even better once you see the prequel trilogy and you sort of see it built up to what happens in that movie, because everything just feels that much more, you feel that much more weight put to it. I've only watched this one a couple of times, but every single time I've just been blown away by just how engaging and how, especially nowadays, we're so spoiled with all the CGI, all the different little things we can see with the effects and everything in these movies. This one, it still feels fresh. It still feels like you don't need all the extra stuff to go to it, because it's just a very nice written story. Very well written, very well put together. It's classic. Like, it's just a great movie. I gotta give a big shout out to George Lucas and everybody that worked on this one. It's like I was saying earlier with some of the other movies in the franchise, you don't feel that heart put into them. We feel it with this one. You feel the heart, you feel the effort, you feel everything that was put into this movie, and you can sort of respect it. I think it's not, there's, like I said, it's number 4. There's still 3 films I would put above it, but just in my sci-fi films of all time period, it's in my top 10. So that should tell you something about pretty much what the rest of the movies, how good the rest of these movies are, and just Star Wars in general. So yeah, episode 4, it's gonna be at number 4, and it's a good one.
Your feeble skills are no match for the power of the dark side.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now entered the top 3. And coming in at number 3, we have the final episode in the original trilogy, Star Wars Episode 6, The Return of the Jedi. This one came out on May 25th. It came out in 1983, and yeah, this one is pretty much, it's the climax of all 3 of those original films, and it's really one of the better ones. You know, it's hard to really top episode 5 for a lot of different reasons that I'm going to discuss when that one comes up, but this film was amazing. It's still something that I love to go back to. It's still just great. I love everything that happened with Jabba in the beginning. I love seeing Luke just bust out having the green lightsaber. It's so much just goodness that goes along with it. You've got the climax with him going against Darth Vader and then going against Emperor Palpatine. It's just a good movie. It's everything that you really could want in a sci-fi film. It doesn't have the same sort of twists that the other ones have, and I'm going to talk about that, but it's a great movie. I always love those climax films. When you can pull off a climax film in a trilogy or a series, period, it's usually going to be the best one, and this is an example of that. All the characters come together, you get that nice sort of happy ending, and it all feels really just complete and put together. You get to see all the Force ghosts at the end, you get to see Luke overcoming all the odds. It's great. And you know what? It deserves all the credit in the world for it. I don't really have too much that I want to say about this one, just because there's much more I want to say about the top 2. But yeah, Star Wars Episode 6, great film. If you haven't seen it already, make sure you go and watch. If you haven't seen this one or the original trilogy, watch the original trilogy. I'm not normally the type to just sort of go for nostalgia when it comes to films, especially in a film like this where it's reliant on, like, Star Wars is one of those films that, you know what, I'll give the prequels a lot of credit just because the story they're able to tell and the visuals they're able to provide with it, it can make it a much more fun experience to watch. But the writing, the way you sort of get invested in all the characters in the original, and the way you're able to see it all pay off, and that's the biggest thing, the payoff in Episode 6. I gotta give them a lot of credit on this one. They were in their bag. So yeah, Star Wars Episode 6 coming in at number 3.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
And the number 2 best Star Wars film is gonna go to Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith. I know some people might have been afraid that I was going to put this one above Empire Strikes Back, but I just couldn't, even though I really do love this one. This is my personal favorite, and I know some people don't like the prequels at all. They sort of just think they were all sort of crap compared to one, but I really feel like you can't watch Episode 3 and just hate it. There was just it was too well put together. Despite all the crap you can say about the overacting, despite all the crap you can say about just the writing not being as good or this and that, Episode 3, it doesn't just fit that. It doesn't fit that description. It did everything it needed to. Everything was sort of paid off during the prequels. We see exactly how Anakin just went all evil. We see how the whole galaxy just ended up in the crap position that it did, and everything was paid off nicely. You know, the movie starts off with them just finishing off the Clone Wars and everything. You see Anakin getting manipulated. You see it all just starting to happen, and it all is just so amazing to just see play out. You know, there's so many different iconic scenes in there. You know, you got Anakin killing the kids. You got Order 66 getting executed. You got all the Jedi going against it. You got Obi-Wan just having to come to terms with the fact that he's going to have to go and fight and probably kill who was his little brother. You've got all these different elements that are just playing out in front of you, and you're just seeing the climax of them. And again, climax, that great word, the great thing about the Star Wars film that they do right for the most part. Episode 9 is very, very bad out there on that one. Hopefully if they do another trilogy, they don't make that same mistake. But you see these things just being built to, and you see them all getting sort of just finished off, and it feels good. You feel something. Like I didn't feel too much for episode 1 and 2, but somehow episode 3 I felt the connection that I needed to feel. You know, just Anakin just turning around once he's meeting with all the separatist leaders, and you just see his eyes just completely, like he's not that same person. It all comes together, and it all pays off nicely, and it all feels just well thought out. So, and I'll admit it, this one might be a little bit of a personal bias, just because this was 2005. This was right before I went to middle school. I don't remember if I saw this one in theaters, but I'm pretty sure I did, and you just love the movie. Like I still have this. This is the only Star Wars film that I have on DVD still, and I still sometimes just put it in and just watch it. It's 3 hours long, but I can always get through it. It doesn't feel too bad. You got even Samuel Jackson. I didn't really care for him too much in the second movie, or even the first one, for as little bit as he was in that one. But episode 3, I loved his character. I loved everything that was going on in there. Palpatine too. Not knowing what I didn't really remember who was going to be the Emperor as I was growing up, but I remember the first time I saw this film, just seeing him go ham like that, and just seeing him turn out to be that evil dude, and seeing how he got all those wrinkles and disgusting looking face that he did. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. The scene with Padme dying, with her trying to give birth, and her just sort of dying in childbirth, with Anakin going through all that agonizing pain without anesthesia, just getting transformed into Darth Vader. Everything is just like, it's top notch to me. I loved it all. It was really the perfect way to just sort of segue and end that prequel trilogy, and just explain to us how the prequels even ended up in the situation they did with them. 10 out of 10 movie. Chef's kiss. Gotta give him all the credit in the world. I loved it. Episode 3. You can hate the prequels, but you can't hate on that one.
I am your father.
No. That's not true. That's impossible.
Number 1, as we already know, Star Wars Episode 5, released in 1980, The Empire Strikes Back. Came out on May 21st. This is probably top 5, top 3 greatest science fiction film of all time, period. We all know why it's so great. You got the iconic just Darth Vader going against Luke scene. You've got Yoda explaining to Luke what the Force is, that beautiful just explanation he gives. You've got all the great stuff that goes on with it. You've got Luke being stuck after fighting Darth Vader, just on there getting saved by Leia. You've got just so much different stuff that just comes together. You got Vader walking in on them and just surprising them after Lando sets him up. You've got so much different stuff, man. It's and like I'm saying, this is the quintessential 80s movie. Like it's one of those. Like it set the tone for the entire decade, in my opinion. We all know Darth Vader just telling Luke, "I am your father," one of the greatest film scenes of all time. This movie is amazing. Like I said, I'm not necessarily a stickler for older movies. I don't try to just be like, oh, this is great just because of when it came out, or they don't put this type of effort into movies anymore. But it's like I'm saying, man, the heart that goes into the movie, you can tell compared to some of the newer ones. You can tell which ones were sort of more cash grabs and which ones were, you actually cared about the universe. You cared about what you were creating, and this is the perfect example of that. So, Star Wars Episode 5, one of the best movies I've ever seen in the science fiction genre. Probably one of the best films I've seen ever, period. I'd have to think a lot more before I say that one, but this movie was amazing. I gotta give all the credit, James Earl Jones, just Darth Vader, this dude in this black suit who really doesn't show any emotion. He just moves all rugged and stiff, but just that voice alone, everybody did what they needed to do in this movie, and they went above and beyond. Just the camera work, the cinematography, the way they handled everything, it's good. It's great. So I gotta give them, again, all the credit in the world. I don't think anyone can really disagree on Episode 5 being the best one. As much as I love Episode 3, there's just that specialness about Episode 5. It's the movie that sort of made Star Wars. It went from just being a good film to something that was worthy of being turned into just a franchise that just spawns decades the way it has. And without Episode 5 being the success that it was, and just being the iconic and legendary movie that it was, I don't think you get that. So yeah, that's the number one movie in the Star Wars franchise for me. Not really of a debate. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the List of Jerm. This has been the second installment, and this has been my review of all the Star Wars films. Whether you agree or disagree, I would like you to just let me know in the comments on my blog post on my website, or just DM me, find me, communicate with me some way on social media. Just let me know how you're feeling about it. Let me know if you think there's anything I missed or that I should have talked about a little bit more. But yeah, that is just those are my feelings on them. It's like I said, new trilogy is just sort of, it was some suck for the most part. The original trilogy is still where it's at. Prequels weren't as good as they could have been, but they weren't the worst thing, especially in hindsight once we see how much worse it could have been. But yeah, that's just how I feel about the Star Wars films. It's still one of my favorite franchises, just like I said, just for the fact that they were able to create such a big universe, create something so expansive that has so much going on with it. They really did a good job of introducing us to it, at least in the prequels, showing us just exactly how it worked, the politics of it. I know some people found a lot of stuff like that boring, but I appreciated it because it really made the world feel real. So yeah, those are my favorite Star Wars films ranked. Any other type of discrepancies, or if you just want to let me know what your list was, feel free to let me know, because I'm always down to debate or talk about it. But yeah, this has been the List of Jerm. I am your host, Jerm, and this is Kinetic Aesthetic. I want to say thank you all for listening. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to check out the website. Go and check out some of that merch we got going. And you all have a beautiful rest of your day.